Welcome, deep divers. Okay, have you been seeing dragons absolutely everywhere lately?
Seems like it, doesn't it?
Or maybe, that specific book cover just dominating your social feeds?
Hard to miss.
Well, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to dive deep into Rebecca Yarros's Fourth Wing.
That's right.
It's a book that has just completely captivated readers, especially, it seems, across book talk here in the US.
hmm
And I'm incredibly curious. What is it about this novel? What's the magic ingredient that sparked this huge phenomenon?
That's exactly what we're here to figure out today. That's our mission.
Okay.
We're going to pull back the layers on its success, look at how it blends different genres,
Yeah.
pin down those specific things that readers are really connecting with so strongly.
And we're basing this on a pretty thorough book review, right?
Yeah, exactly. A comprehensive review that gives us a really solid foundation for this deep dive.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. At its core, what is Fourth Wing? I know it's book one in the Empyrean series.
Okay.
And the main genres seem to be fantasy, romance, and something called new adult. Can you tell us a bit more about that combo?
Absolutely. It's fantasy, romance, and new adult. And what's really fascinating here is just how fast this particular mix took off.
Yeah.
Like it just soared into readers' hearts, seemingly overnight.
Wow.
So, fact check, published May 2nd, 2023. Publisher is Entangled, specifically their Red Tower Books imprint. It's about 512 pages, give or take.
Okay.
And the ratings are consistently high, like 4.5 out of 5 stars, pretty much everywhere you look.
That's impressive.
It really is. And that new adult part you asked about, for anyone not familiar, it usually focuses on protagonists, say late teens, early 20s.
Right, like college age.
Exactly. Dealing with maybe more mature themes than typical young adult fiction. Things like identity, finding your place, intense relationships,
Yeah.
often with much stronger focus on the romance side.
Good.
And this blend in Fourth Wing just seems to hit a real sweet spot. You get that epic fantasy feel, but combined with these really intense personal journeys and, yeah, some pretty steamy romance, too.
Okay, let's step into this world then. Tell us about the protagonist, Violet Sorrengail. She's 20.
20 years old.
Yeah. The picture painted is, well, she's initially kind of fragile, bookish maybe. Always thought she'd be a scribe like her dad was.
That was the plan.
Right.
Follow in her late father's footsteps. Quiet, scholarly life.
But then things change drastically. Her mother steps in.
Oh, yeah. Her mother is the general.
Yeah.
Ruthless. Runs the Basgiath War College. And she basically forces Violet into the writer quadrant.
Which sounds terrifying.
It is incredibly deadly. The stakes are sky high. I mean, the book makes it clear. Cadets die, like daily.
Oh.
And the dragons. They only bond to the strongest writers. So if you're perceived as weak,
You're probably not going to make it. Sounds incredibly intense right from the get-go.
it absolutely is. And Violet's journey immediately brings up these powerful themes, right? Survival, obviously, but also defying expectations, both others and maybe her own.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is how this personal fight for survival gets tangled up with meeting Xaden Rearson.
The love interest or enemy.
Well, that's the thing. He's described as this brooding and deadly powerful wing leader. He's got his own secrets, complicated past, connected to Violet's family, actually.
Oh, okay. Intrigue.
Definitely sets up that classic enemies to lovers dynamic. Very popular trope.
I bet.
And, if we look at the bigger picture here, Violet isn't just trying to survive day-to-day training. As she navigates this incredibly dangerous place, she starts uncovering secrets, deeper secrets.
About what?
About her kingdom, the war it's fighting. It leads her to question everything, the leaders, people's loyalties, even her own place in all of it. So it's not just a physical battle, it's mental, emotional, a political thriller element too.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, right? The secret sauce, the ingredients for success. The review mentions the world building is a huge plus.
Huge. Yeah.
Described as vividly realized. It apparently strikes a great balance between like immersive lore and just keeping you flipping the pages.
That balance is absolutely key. Yarros does a great job. She builds this really rich world, but she feeds it to you naturally. You get enough detail to feel immersed, but you're not bogged down by like info dumps.
Right, no lengthy history lessons breaking the flow.
Exactly. The magic system feels well thought out. There's political maneuvering, and the dragon lore is really quite detailed. It all weaves together pretty seamlessly into the action.
And the review mentioned it feels familiar in some ways, maybe to fans of The Hunger Games or Divergence, or even A Court of Thorns and Roses, ACOTAR.
Yeah, you definitely see those echoes. The high-stakes competition, the sorting into factions or quadrants, the tough training, the romance against a backdrop of war.
So familiar elements.
Familiar elements? Yeah, but they don't feel just like copied and pasted.
Yeah.
Yarros puts her own spin on them within the structure of Basgiath and the whole Dragon Rider society. It gives you that comfort food feeling of tropes you enjoy, but in a fresh feeling package.
Okay, and the dragons themselves. You mentioned the lore, but I gather they're more than just set dressing or transport.
Oh, way more. This is a really important point, actually.
So how do they elevate the story beyond just, typical fantasy creatures?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the biggest things that makes Fourth Wing stand out. Unlike a lot of fantasy where dragons might just be powerful mounts or, a dangerous obstacle.
Right.
Here, Yarros makes them characters, fully formed characters.
Characters, like they talk.
They talk. They're intelligent. They're opinionated. They have their own motivations, their own ancient history, even their own kind of society. It's not just a gimmick.
Wow.
It means their choices matter. Their personalities matter. They form these incredibly deep, emotional, telepathic bonds with their chosen riders.
So the bond is a big deal.
It's central. And the dragons themselves, their relationships, their goals, they directly drive the plot. They add whole other layers of emotional complexity. They're almost like another major faction in this world's conflicts. It really transforms them from just cool, magical creatures into active, vital players in the story.
That sounds amazing, actually. Makes me want to read it just for the dragons.
They are definitely a highlight for many readers.
Okay, and then the romance, the review really emphasizes this. A slow burn. Steamy, layered, emotionally resonant enemies to lovers between Violet and Xaden.
Yep, that's the core romantic plot.
And it apparently feels earned rather than rushed. What do you think makes this particular romance work so well for people?
Well, I think that slow burn aspect is crucial. It lets the emotional connection build up naturally. It develops alongside all the danger, the high stakes, the training.
So it's not love at first sight.
Definitely not. Their relationship is complex. It's forged in things like shared trauma, forced proximity, because they're in the same quadrant. This constant questioning of trust and loyalty.
Because he's kind of the enemy initially.
Exactly. There's history there, bad blood between their families due to the war. So overcoming that, building trust, it takes time. And that makes the payoff, when the connection deepens, feel really satisfying, believable, even in this fantastical setting.
Makes sense. And beyond the romance, the review pointed out some compelling themes.
Oh, absolutely. The book touches on a lot.
Yeah.
Power dynamics, definitely. Agency, especially for Violet. Disability is a significant theme, too, related to Violet's physical condition. Grief is present, loyalty is constantly tested, and obviously survival. Violet's journey isn't just about getting physically stronger, though she does. It's also about her grappling with living in this brutal world that constantly sees her, or assumes her to be, weak because of her smaller stature and condition.
So internal growth, too.
Huge internal growth. We see her really grow in body and spirit, finding her own strength, her own voice. That makes her a really resonant character for a lot of readers, I think.
And finally, let's talk about the writing itself. The voice, the accessibility, it's first person from Violet's perspective.
Yes, first-person POV.
And the review called the tone modern, sarcastic, and emotionally intimate. How does that contribute to its addictiveness, making it accessible even for maybe casual fantasy readers?
That modern voice is key. It makes it super easy to slip right into Violet's head, She feels relatable even with dragons flying around.
Oh, right.
Her internal monologue, the sarcasm, the emotional honesty, it just pulls you in. The narrative voice keeps the pace feeling quick, really engaging. It reads very, very addictively.
So it avoids that dense, maybe slightly intimidating prose you sometimes get in epic fantasy?
Exactly. It avoids overly complex language or those long world-building dumps that can sometimes be a barrier for people new to the genre or just looking for a faster read.
So it offers the excitement of high fantasy.
But without demanding you have like a PhD in fantasy history to get into it, which definitely helps explain its incredibly broad appeal.
Okay, but no book is perfect, right? Even the massive bestsellers get critiques.
True. Fair criticisms are always part of the discussion.
The review mentioned pacing. Said the beginning is fast, thrilling, but maybe the middle gets a bit bloated. Repetitive training scenes, perhaps.
That's a critique you sometimes hear, yeah. It's a valid point for some readers. I mean, the intense training is pretty essential for Violet's character arc. You need to see her struggle and transform from fragile scholar to, well, someone who might actually survive.
Right? Shows her progress.
It does.
Yeah.
But if you're less invested in the, day-to-day grind of a brutal military academy, some of those sections might feel like they slow things down a bit before the next major plot point hits.
And what about those familiar tropes we mentioned earlier?
That comes up too. Some readers perceive certain elements as, well, very familiar. Things like hints of a potential love triangle, definite chosen one vibes surrounding Violet, and the whole military academy setting itself.
Stuff we've seen before in YA or fantasy.
Pretty common building blocks, yes. And also the dialogue. While many love the modern, casual tone,
You mentioned it helps accessibility.
it does, but for some readers, especially maybe purist fantasy fans, hearing modern slang or a very casual tone in what feels like a medieval-ish high fantasy setting
Yeah.
can be jarring. It can pull them out of the immersion.
I can see that.
So it raises that interesting question, right, about the balance between using familiar, popular elements, maybe innovating within them, versus meeting the expectations some readers have for a more traditional fantasy feel. For lots of people, that familiarity is a big part of the comfort and appeal. For others, it might feel a bit less groundbreaking.
Right. Depends on what you're looking for as a reader.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've looked at the world, the characters, the romance, the dragons, the writing, even the criticisms. Pulling it all together, why do you think Fourth Wing just exploded the way it did? What was the perfect storm?
I think it really boils down to a masterful blend of popular elements hitting at just the right time.
Yeah.
It skillfully combines that sort of Hunger Games style brutality and high-stakes survival
Yeah.
with the charm and wonder of really cool integrated creatures, almost like How to Train Your Dragon, but much deadlier.
Okay.
And then wraps it all up in that intense, high-passion, enemies-to-lovers romance that readers of series like Akokar really crave. It hits multiple popular notes simultaneously.
A winning combo.
Very winning combo. And then, crucially, you cannot discount the book talk effect.
Right. It was huge on there.
Absolutely massive. The platform became this incredibly powerful word-of-mouth engine. You had countless glowing reviews, amazing fan art, super enthusiastic reader reaction videos. It created this organic, widespread hype that traditional marketing sometimes struggles to match.
And the sequel came out pretty fast too, right? Iron Flame.
Yep, Iron Flame landed in late 2023. That quick follow-up absolutely fueled the momentum, kept the hype train going, kept the existing fans engaged, and pulled in even more readers. It really solidified the series' devoted fan base.
So summing it all up then, what does this all mean for you, the listener, the potential reader?
Well, look, Fourth Wing might not be, completely revolutionizing the fantasy genre with elements nobody's ever seen before.
Okay.
But what it does, extremely successfully, is revitalize those familiar, beloved elements. It injects them with tremendous energy, real emotional depth, and a pace that just doesn't quit.
It delivers what people want.
It delivers precisely what a huge number of readers are looking for right now. Heart-pounding action, yes. High fantasy featuring awesome, intelligent, opinionated dragons, definitely. Genuine emotional stakes that make you care. And yeah, that spicy, earned romance.
So is it worth the hype?
I'd say for readers who enjoy character-driven fantasy, who like strong romantic tension woven into the plot, and who connect with powerful themes of resilience and finding your strength,
Yeah.
it's very likely worth the hype for you.
What a fantastic deep dive. It really paints a clear picture of this vibrant world, the compelling story, and just why Fourth Wing became the phenomenon it is.
It really is fascinating to dissect. And, it kind of leaves us with a thought-provoking question, doesn't it? How does a book like Fourth Wing manage to take these tropes we know, these familiar building blocks, and blend them in a way that feels both comforting, like slipping on a favorite sweater, but also fresh and genuinely exciting, especially to a new generation of readers?
That's a good question.
Maybe that's something for you, the listener, to think about. If you decide to pick it up, or if you've already read it, consider what specific elements really grabbed you. Was it the dragons? The romance? Was it Violet's incredible resilience against the odds? What is it that you find most compelling when you dive into a big news story like this?